Hello again, everyone. So welcome once again to another installment of the Fibaro webinar training. I'm Mark from Digital Home Systems, and today we're going to be covering audiovisual control with the HC3 controllers. So once again, another Fibaro controller. So primarily what we're going to be using today to actually show the demonstration of AV control is we're going to be using primarily global cache. Now, global cache is the easiest way of describing a IP to IR interface, though it can also do serial control, so RS-232, RS-485, but the example I'm going to be showing you today is direct through serial communication. Sorry, not through serial, through IR communication. So I currently have a very basic one connected up right here. One moment. Cable management is not my forte. It should be. So a little one connected up here. So the global cache products, primarily Flex is the one that we actually provide, is compatible with almost any IR entertainment device, from TV, set-top box, DVD player, radio, and it's essentially a web-based control protocol. What that means is it actually loads into your network like it would your Fibaro controller, for example, and using that interface, you're able to actually direct your controllers to actually use its IR port, its IR output port, in order to actually convert essentially a string command. I'll be showing you what those are. Translating a string command from a home center controller, either be a home center 2, home center light, or home center 3, to actually transmit through your network to your IR blaster, being your Flex controller, and through there actually control essentially your radio, your TV, all necessary parts for it. There are 3 types of cables that you can connect up to these for the IR control. There is the standard Flex cables. There are then the 3-headed Flex cables as well. And then there are the IR blasters, which essentially have a much longer range than the previous 2 cables. And yes, all the Flex devices as well actually have built-in IR learning, which what that essentially means is they actually come with a program. You can just download them for free that allow you to, in the easiest sense for it, point your remote control at the actual device itself, press one of the control buttons you actually want to use, from whether it be your power button, your change channel, volume, tuner, and it will essentially grab that entire code string for you and give you essentially this very easy copy and paste link for it. And from that copy and paste link, you can just load it into your home center controller. And from there, you just be able to send commands. So what you actually just need for this sort of setup is you just need either a Flex PoE or Flex Wi-Fi bridge, a Flex cable being either the single, the triple, or the blaster, a home center 3, and either a PC or an Apple Mac. You can also set this up using your phone as well, or a tablet, but it's not recommended as there is a lot of clicking required and a lot of copying and pasting. So best just use a laptop or some sort of Mac that supports a browser that is compatible with the home center 3 system. So firstly, what I'm going to go show you. So this is my home center 3 controller. As you can currently see, I have a couple of devices connected up to it. One of them being this global cache device. Now, what this global cache device actually is this is actually a quick app. It's one of the devices that can just be made through the home center 3 controller by simply just going once you're in add devices of device and simply loading up a quick app. However, we'll actually be providing you with a link to a partially made one for this, as it does require a little bit of code to actually get it up and running. However, once you actually do have that basic code, you can load through things much easily I'll be showing you the entire process of actually setting up a form of remote control. I have two IR devices in this room that I can actually use to control. One of them is currently off camera, and one's just over my left shoulder, which is a radio. So yes. So firstly, what we're just going to do is you'd be after we've given you the file, you requested the file. Normally, to make your first app, you go to Quick App. However, you can actually upload an entire file. It'll give you everything that was coming with that base file. So all the configurations that we've already previously set, you'll just have to make adjustments accordingly for that. However, considering you already have a global cache set up here, all I have to do is simply go into the global cache controller itself. So this pops up like any normal device in your system. It pops up under the other tab instead of your Z-Wave tab, as it is another other device. And inside the device itself, there's a couple of variables you need to change. Port 4998 is the default communication port for the global cache system, so you don't need to change that. All you do need to change for the communication to actually start working is you need to change the IP address. The IP address can be gotten by either straight through your router, or there is actually another program that you can get called iHelp. Once again, it's connected in the same way as the iLearn system, which is to actually learn the IR commands. You simply just download it, and it will actually give you the IP address of your controller, much in the same way as the Fibaro Finder does for your actual Fibaro home setup. Once you have gotten your IP address, simply just change this one very easily. Just go to edit and type in whatever yours is. Once that is done, you simply press save, which can normally be blue down the bottom right, but at the current point in time, I'm not changing them, so I don't need to. Then all you have to do is go into edit and preview. So at the current point in time, you can see there's currently no items added because I currently don't have any items in there. It has a basic on-off control for its general setup. So if we were to actually go into its interface, it appears in our system as an actual on-off switch. However, we've actually yet to set any commands for its on-off function. So we'll simply close this down and go back into the device itself. So under edit and preview, we simply press edit. And then from here, we can see a couple of things. So on the left-hand side are our controls. These are the ones we can actually add to our controller. This is what it'll actually appear like in our interface. At the current point in time, as we have no actual control buttons apart from the generic on-off power, as it's just completely blank. And then this is some pre-made code. What this essentially does is makes a connection to your actual IR device, so essentially your global cache system, and then translates any send command that is made into the correct string format for your system. What the strings actually look like, is if we scroll all the way down, is these little guys here. So this is actually taken directly from iLearn. This is actually a power on and off button, and this is a volume up and down. However, at the current point in time, this actually doesn't function at all. The reason for it is we've yet to actually have any buttons that will actually be able to use these commands themselves. So firstly, all you have to do is just on the left-hand side, give ourselves a new button. This command here is actually a power toggle command. Certain devices you have will have two separate commands. They'll have a on command and an off command. However, for this instance, the TV that we're currently using only has toggle. So as such, you'll be using the same button to turn it on and off. So it first loads in to your interface as BNT for short, which is the button. We can change it to whatever we want. So in this instance, we just change it to power toggle. And then the ID for the device, we don't really need to change. The ID is primarily used for essentially debugging and troubleshooting. Don't really need that for the time being. However, what we do want to do is this little function down here is called onReleased. So what that means is once you've actually pressed the button down on your physical interface and released it, that is the response that will actually happen through your system. So in this instance, we want it to actually send the power command. So all we have to do very simply is type in power. Once that's done, just press save. And if I turn this guy correctly, I'm currently using the blaster in the two separate directions. This command, when you press the button, should actually give us a response down the bottom. We can simply test this by going to preview mode, which is this little function up here. And once that's done, whenever we actually press one of the buttons on the device section, it'll actually run as though we were pressing it on the main interface. So I can press power toggle. As you can see, it was released on for button 1. And hopefully it's not too loud. It's a Sonic Q TV, so it'll make a loud sound when it actually boots up. As you can see, this is that. I can also turn it off. However, because it is to my far left and a bit not within our view, it's a bit difficult to see, so I can simply just turn it off. So now what we have as well is the volume up and down buttons. Once again, this is done much of the same way. So we can just close this little graph down the bottom, and we can simply just load in something else. So if we were to have, let's just say, 2 buttons, so volume up and volume down, we first need to remove preview mode, so we can actually go back into controlling it, drag the buttons we want. So in this instance, there are 2 buttons. The IDs for this you might want to change. Let's just do this to volume up. And then whatever we want the label to be. So volume plus. Much like the second button, we can do volume down. And also volume negative, just for short. So much like the previous steps, there is once again the onReleased functions. So in this instance, all we need to do is grab whatever we have down here. So this is volume up and load it in. Once you press saved, it'll go through. Go back for volume down. That's right, because there's nothing currently there in the system. 1 second, I forgot it hates spaces. All right, so simply all I have to do for it now is when we go to preview mode, we can press the button and it'll send the up and down command. However, we do not have a down command at the current point in time. So there are actually 2 ways of getting commands from your actual, for your controller. There is either the IR, as best describe it, the IR control cloud they have. I'll actually show you that in 1 second, 1 moment. All right, so on the global page itself, up the top, there is home, about, products, distributors, partners, news, support, all you'd expect from a general site. Under products themselves, there is downloads and docs, which is where you can actually get the iLearn and iHelp part from. However, what we're looking for is the Control Tower IR database. Now, what this actually is a massive database they have collected of pretty much generic IR devices, from Sony to Panasonic. Essentially, you can use that because most manufacturers use the same IR commands for a lot of their systems. All you have to do is simply log in. So hopefully I remember my password correctly. Seems I did. All we need to do here is put in the brand that we actually want for it. So let's just say we want a Panasonic. See, there's Panasonic. Then the device type we want. So let's just say a Blu-ray. And then the model of Blu-ray they have for it. So there is all models or the specific models you want. If you do get all models, what happens is it actually sends you out an email, and that email is just full of every single IR command and string command that is actually supported by that brand. So it would be best just to specifically choose the ones you want. Just say the DMP series portable. And then we can either get it to send us the entire code set, which is this little button on the right, or we can get a specific function for it. So let's just say we just want the power toggle command, and just press send code. So that will send me through an email that's been linked to my global cache account. Global cache account for the IR tower is completely free. So you can just do that whenever you wish. Or I could press the send code set for the entire DMP series. So that would give me every single command that's available here, and I just have to manually sort through it. So very simply, just by pressing send code start. So that is one of the solutions for it, to actually, in order to actually get your IR codes. However, there is then a manual function for it. Some devices are not actually supported by the, well, less supported and more, they don't have a very large database for it. When you think about it, there are a lot of manufacturers, a lot of brands, and a lot of models. So upkeeping everything up to current spec would take a little bit of time. So they do actually provide you with a IR learning device itself. So what I'm simply just going to do is I'm going to load up the IR learning device. This is a very simple program. It's a simple exe file that you can download from the site itself. And here we are. So this is what it looks like, the IR learn. What we just simply need to do up the top left is actually choose whatever we want for it. So in this instance, I'm using a global cache flex. So I'll be choosing the flex learner and then the IP address of the device. So this, once again, you can get from the iHelper or your general network. And then connect. Once it's connected, it'll show you the firmware that's running for it, as well as black out this so it actually, you know the connection is actually done. Now, all you have to do is get a remote control. I have a remote control for the stereo that's just behind me to the left. It's a bit difficult to see because of my shoulder, but it's currently right there. Mirrored settings are weirdly weird. So let's just say we want to get the power function with this device. All you need to do is just rotate the global flex, find its IR port for it, and get the command. So at the current point in time, that has just given us the entire command needed to actually send the on command for the device. So in order to get this command, we can just press edit, which will put into edit view. If we need to change the format for it, but this plugin already, this quick app already does it for you, it converts the entire string into an actual usable format. If you have another device that uses a different sort of format, such as JSON or hex, you can use those. But for Fibaro, you can just use the normal global cache conversion. Now, what you can actually do from here is you can either test the code, you can save the code in the format you like, or you can actually simply just copy the entire code across. So for this instance, I'll just grab this code and load it into my home center controller. So now what we have to do is can put this into a format that's actually usable. So we can simply just copy the previous commands we have. And change what it actually is. So in this instance, what is required to actually know that there's an exit code on the end of the actual script, like the string of digits, is this little guy here. So what he does is actually confirm for the actual controller that that is the end of the command. So it's not looking for anything after that. It's got the entire string. And once it's done that, it'll send out a command. So we just need this guy to stay there. So what we can actually do is just get this entire code, get the last digit that we need for it, which is this little guy here, and everything past this we can just paste over. However, at the current point in time, we used to have two volume up commands. So for this instance, we don't really want that. We want a radio power. So we can just name this whatever we want, just as long as we make a button for it with the corresponding parts. So radio power. I made a horrible typo there. And now saved. Then, after that's done with that, we can simply just give ourselves a new button. So considering it is another toggle button, only need one of them. Button will just change. Considering we already have a button 1, I just want to change this to another name. So let's just call this radio. The label for it will be radio power. And the event that we want to happen on release. Once again, you can either type it in manually, or you can actually just grab the entire line for it and put it in there. So now that's done, I should just, one moment, I actually have the IR blaster on swivel mount. Should be able to press preview and turn on radio power. Which I'm pretty sure, give it a second. one moment. What happened? Press the wrong button. There we go. Held the button in, which sends it to another command. Apologies for that mistake. Simply just change this entire code. Press save. That mistake has just been overwritten anyway, and now I should just be able to press toggle after I've made sure it's actually saved correctly. Yep, now toggle. I've also set the volume, so it should be able to actually start playing music, but shouldn't be too loud. It's currently actually just static. So apologies for that. So I'm actually getting a radio signal. I can turn the power off for it. And bear with me 1 second. Apologies, so they readjust to the point they could actually get a signal. So it should be turning back on. And should actually pick up a radio station. Peaceful. But that's just one simple command. Once again, if we want to get another command, let's just say we want to get the tuner command for it. We can simply just go back to our device, choose the key we want to press. So in this instance, the tune key, line up the IR blaster with the learner. So for this, we can simply just grab that command line once again by just pressing edit, copying this entire command line, well, essentially entire code. 1 second, let's have to reconnect back to the Fibaro. And then we can just make another command. So once again, copy the command down, copy this guy. This is station up. And copy in the command line we want. Once again, not forgetting that we need the exit code in the end. Run unnecessary spaces. Save there, and then give ourselves a new little line again. So disable in preview mode, moving on to the ones we want. So tuner down, tuner up. And then once again, the actual commands we want for it. So in this instance, it will be station up. All of your commands are actually case sensitive. So if you do find that this is having an issue sending a certain command off, just make sure that it actually matches up perfectly. I have an issue with random capitalization. But once this is done, we should be able to do that. From here, we should be able to turn on the radio again using the preview mode. Currently turning on. Turn the volume so you can actually hear. And then move it across to a different station, and then turn on the power again because it doesn't need to run. So that's all pretty much your normal IR commands for it. So that's currently able to control 2 devices at once, not at the exact same time, as it can only send off 1 blast command at once. However, what you can also do is this device itself can actually run entire, sets of devices as well. So just say you wanted to actually create a scene that was to run with these devices as well. You can simply just give yourself a new button. So let's just say make 2 of them. First button will be called movie time. And the other one might be called get up. What we then want to do is, much like in the same way as we created these events, we simply just need to create these 2 new events. So this one shall be movie time. We can get rid of this command because we don't really need to send an IR command for it. And then another command. So we'll call this get up. It hates spaces, so do not put in spaces. If you need to put in something, put in underscores. However, we then need to figure out what the actual devices we want to switch are. So in this instance, on the left-hand side, we can see that there's currently a couple of tabs. One of them is our builder, which is what we're currently in. One of them is our files, and the other one is actually a list of all devices we currently have connected to the system. So we can go to devices, default section, default room, and then find the device we actually want. So in this instance, let's just choose the roller shutter. And when we want it to be movie time, we want it to turn on. It gives us the exact command we need for it. And let's say turn off. So now whenever we actually press the buttons, as long as they're assigned to it, we'll be able to get those events. But let's say we want more than just one event. Let's say I actually have RGBW strip lighting set up. We can simply add in the actual device we want. So in this instance, let us choose, where are you? My RGBW controller. And we just want this to actually toggle. So let's do turn on. And then for this one, turn off. We can then save that. It does warn us about duplications being made for it. If you have IDs, you can completely skip over that. It's all right. 1 second. I just realized I actually made one major mistake. One moment. Yeah, they do not like those commands. One moment. There we go. And I should be able to save that without an issue now. That we just need to make sure these actually have the correct ones in there. So once again, movie time. It's complete. And then get up as this as well. And save that. So you can see whenever we release that button, it'll run this event. And whenever we press this button, it'll run that event, which hasn't actually loaded in there correctly. That's right, because that has been loaded yet. All right, so now if we go back to preview mode, you can see that the strip lighting is turned on. And then to the command, strip lighting turns off, line comes down. So you can run that pretty much side by side with your normal system. So we just press close out of that, close out this little guy here, go back into here, open up our device itself. As you can see, the devices have actually loaded through with everything as well we need for it. You can actually bind your power switch if you do have a device which turns on and off using 2 separate commands. You can actually bind that to be able to use this default command for it. But as I have a toggle TV, it causes issues. But from this interface, we can just do whatever we want. So we can use movie time, we can turn on the radio. And yeah, it has pretty much complete control over your AV stuff. Your AV control, you can also use it just to, one moment. You can use it to control your Z-Wave devices. You can also have it set up to control other devices that you have as well, such as any heating and cooling you have, whether or not you want to have your security activate while you're in certain modes as well. So say you're just, planning on snoozing at home on the couch, you can set up like that as well. So the templates that are actually available, you do have to build them from scratch. However, what you can actually do is when you download the entire, template device, just say I was to actually download this device itself. Every single button I've actually previously made here will actually load through with the template that I download. So you could just create a very generic remote control, and when everything, and then every single button is already pre-configured. All you have to do is just go through there and change every single IR command to the ones you actually want for your system. That you just have a very clear blank slate where it doesn't have any commands for it at all, and it just has the little exit code at the end. So hopefully that answers your question. Unfortunately, I do not believe there is at the current point in time. There is some work that needs to be actually done on the quick apps themselves. And essentially, it's a bit of customization of all those necessary parts for it. So by default, unfortunately, no. So that actually brings us to the end of that presentation. If you do want the device that we actually just made today, feel free to email us at any one of those emails. My personal email is mark@dhsys. Our website is digitalhomesystems.com.au, or you can simply call us. If you essentially I don't respond fast enough to the email that you send through, feel free to send an email to the office as well, as generally we should just be able to help you with whatever requirements you have and any questions as well. Thank you for attending, as always. Hopefully this was insightful for you. And if you do have any questions, as just said before, feel free to contact us whenever you feel like it. If you do want the actual template that we've just made, feel free to send me through an email or the office, and we should be able to sort you out.